working as a BIM development manager, and I will be chairing this on site, and together with Claude Rospas, who is on virtually. Say hi, please.
Okay. So Claude Rospa, I'm a researcher in the reassessment of existing civil works. So I will lead this session with Peter.
Okay, the first presentation would be platinum presentation from Arcans. Thank you for sponsoring us and this event. Couldn't be possible without our sponsors. The presentation would be Arkansas infrastructure offering using open standard ISO 15143/4. Then Liv Dedeker, portfolio manager infrastructure. She's presenting this remotely and hoping to inspire you and open up a discussion on how Arkansas has prepared an open infrastructure offering thanks to the evaluation of open standard 15143. So please leave.
Hello, good morning. So like I was introduced, my name is Lieve de Dekker. So I'm indeed product portfolio manager at Arcans Group. And today in this session, I would like to take you along with our and introduce actually our infrastructure offering of Arcans, where we really embrace having those open standards. And as you can read, or if you follow all the ISO standards, the 15143-4 is actually one still under construction.
Liv,
but we follow up really
Liv.
closely.
We are waiting for your presentation. We don't see it for the moment. It's not your fault. So it's just a technique.
I'm still on the title slide, yes. So it's fine.
1 minute, please, and we will share your presentation.
Yeah.
We see it perfectly. Yeah.
So right now it's live or not yet?
No, not yet.
I shall just continue talking a bit about myself then.
I think
now
it's okay. Thank you.
It's the title slide still. So, so I take you along us how we embrace the open standards. So a bit about me. So I'm indeed your presenter of this session. So my name is Lieve de Dekker. So really a Flemish name, but I'll take anything that sounds a bit familiar to me. So I'm based in Belgium. I was born and raised there. I'm a structural engineer, surveyor. And what I've learned throughout my 40 years existing already is that I'm eager to analyze issues and support everyone in finding best fit solutions, actually. So, and what I try to challenge myself is to optimize and do a bit better every day. And combining these two skills or talents or things that I have, I really found actually a good job, a best fit job for me, that is a product portfolio manager infrastructure at Arcans. So what does that mean? That I'm responsible for having really a portfolio at Arcans that fills in the gaps, that is really an end-to-end solution to all of our customers in the infrastructure industry. Like I said, I work at Arcans. So who actually is Arcans? So Arcans is a company of the Monnoyeur Group. So the Monnoyeur Group started off already in 1906. So as it also states in the title, so Monnoyeur is really the actor, in the evolution, but also revolutions within the construction industry. So they started off in 1906 with the mechanization of actually the equipment on construction sites. Moving along and also taking on that innovative part of hydraulic systems as well during the time. So they became a CAT dealer, so of the equipment in 1929 already. And nowadays, we really focus as well on digitization of the construction site and actually on the infrastructure, manufacturing and construction market in general. So if we dive a bit deeper on the group Monnoyeur, so it's a €2.5 billion turnover company, and it's still a family-owned company. So we really live on strong values of respect, courage, entrepreneurship, and friendliness. And we are actually not only residing in France or Belgium or anything, but we are actually located in most European countries, plus Turkey and also China with the Monoyer Group. Um, to really get that nice turnover every year, we focus on four main activities. So first of all, we have Bergerac Monoyer with the Caterpillar dealership in Eneria, as well for the engine building. We have also for the rental part, we have a Prolis. Ipso is focusing more actually on something more specific in agriculture, so farm sales actually. And then last but not least, of course, that is Arcans. And Arcans is really helping the group Monoyer in general of also bringing digitalization and helping our customers in the digitalization transformation, digital transformation actually, in the construction and manufacturing group. So Arcans is led by Grégoire Arans. He's our CEO. And if we drill down a bit, we see that we have more known brands in the market. So we see Altera, that is more focused on geospatial hardware. Cytec is known as the reseller of Trimble solutions for actually on the machine equipment to make it indeed connected and improve and evaluate a bit, evolve. Arcan's Optimum is focusing more on data to make sure that we capture good data, sensor everything, so through sensoring, smart sensoring, and making sure that we use that data to optimize everything. So that's why the name Optimum is in there. So these three brands, Altera, Cytec, Arcan's Optimum, are really brands that are focusing on that part on the field, so really in the construction site. If we look at Arcan systems, that's that's where actually the nice design, the constructible models are being made for the construction site. So that's why we see the link there as well. Arcan systems focusing on the office part, so where all the nice 3D models, all the information is put in the office actually. How do we do that? So we work together with great market leading vendors like Autodesk and Trimble. We also know that, of course, to make an end-to-end solution, you can't only rely on the market-leading solutions, but you have to also make sure that we make that best fit solution. So we have our own software editing under the brand of Holixa. But perhaps also for some of you, they also know AGA-CAD. That's also part of the Arcans family. And we don't have software alone or just having that part only, but we have a really large team of Arcans experts all across Europe, actually, to make sure that we make that nice end-to-end solution, but also make it adopt and really make it fit in your processes and workflows. We don't do that in one country, we do that across Europe, like I mentioned before. So really helping digitalization for the construction and manufacturing industry. So what is our mission? So our mission, and it's not only a nice sentence, it's really what we're aiming for, is to be your partner to build smarter. And how are we going to do that? So we are actually top professionals striving together for excellence. I see that the slide is still not going through on your part, I think. Yes, vision. So we are top professionals striving together for excellence. So that means that we want to partner with you to make sure that we join forces, intelligent information, and make sure that we help to guide you along that path to digital transformation. So we are also an international network. So like I said, in Europe and in Turkey. So we want to make sure that we take the expertise across all of the countries to make sure that we bring really the best solutions to our customers. And doesn't matter where they are, we just want to make sure that we have these experts in place that are needed. We're not just waiting until we have a nice idea, we are also pioneers and making sure that we understand the trends of the industry, the challenges our customers facing, the needs they have, that we are really exploring all the possibilities there are to really become also a leader in that digital future for construction and manufacturing. So where do we see ourselves? Because you've seen that we have different activities. So, and because we do all these different activities, we see that as our great advantage of being at the crossroad actually of design and operations. So on the left-hand side of this slide, you can see that, like I mentioned earlier as well, we are also, we have been focusing a lot of expertise in the office part. So that means that we've helped for years and years already to have our customers build 3D models, BIM models according to BIM rules, etc., to make sure that these 3D models contain all the quality data they need. So we have been focusing there already for years. On the other hand side, you see on the right hand side that we are also existing already in the field thanks to SciTech as well, our colleagues there. So they have all the expertise there to make sure that the equipment used on the construction site is intelligent, that the machines become more intelligent and also connected. So it's not just the machine driver who's doing something, but we really can help him control more, and we can really see if where we are according to the planning, etc. So, but nowadays, what we've learned as well is that there is still a gap concerning the data flow. And that is where we are focusing on. So we really want to make sure that all the nice, intelligent data made in the office, that there is really a seamless data flow from the office to the field and back. Because everything that's been captured in the field as well is also intelligent data that is really useful for the office as well. So, and that is why we see ourselves at the intersection. So, really making sure that because we have expertise on those both fields, that we can make sure that there is indeed a high quality, but also a seamless data flow between those two areas. So, and that's why we embrace the open standards, because making sure that we can make and fill up that gap between office and field, we have the need of open standards. Because what, of course, we've learned is that design offices or the engineering companies, they don't only use that one same software, they use a mixture of design software. And on the other hand side, in the construction side, we see that they don't only use the same equipment, it's a mixed fleet. So they use different brands, different vendor information systems on the machines. So we really need to make sure that we embrace that open standard to have that seamless data flow between office and field. So just a little overview indeed on the open standards, which is probably known for a lot of people. So we are happy that in 2010 they started really thinking of system architecture. I see a little error on this slide because part 2 was also created in 2010 and not in 2021, of course. So we were happy that in 2020 there was the first open standards to exchange also telematics data. So we've embraced this and we made sure that the telematics data that's been captured of the machines, that we can still reuse, that we can use them, read them, and do some more intelligent analysis of them. And where we're really looking forward to is actually part 4. So the ISO standard 143-4 is really on the open standard for the topographical data. So that means that we don't only have information on the equipment, but can really exchange that design data back and forth between office and field, actually, of the construction site. So nice words, but how do we see that in practice? So I'll try to sketch how we see that. So as I explained, so the design, so an infrastructure design involves more than just a nice road. It really connects to the area it resides in. So it means an infrastructure or a construction is not only building, it contains buildings, roads, pipe networks, GIS environment, geotechnical data, bridges, structural analysis, tunnels. So a lot of data, really important and needed to create a BIM model of the product of the project. So we have different design solutions because everybody uses the software they really see as the top notch and needed to create that specific detailed design. So all the information modeling is done in the different design solutions. And often the exchange of that information nowadays is still done through documents. So we really want to emphasize that we call this document management instead of data management, because the exchange of information of the data still resides in a document. So everybody is still working in its own BIM environment and exchanging that information via a document through platforms of known market-leading vendors like Autodesk, Trimble, Bentley, etc. What do we see as an issue there? Because it doesn't look like an issue, but I think most people know that even the engineering companies, they see a lot of issues there because, of course, they take into account the project, but the project connects in an infrastructure world. It connects to the real existing world. So you need to make sure that everybody is aware of the fact that parts of the data are still under construction because they're changing and not anymore the as-is situation. Data exchange of design that's being made is done through imports, exports, exports to IFC in different design solutions, often results in different information, sometimes also information loss. And because everybody stays within its own design environment, we still call this actually closed BIM. So because it's still in its own file format and still working in its own design environment. And you might say, okay, what do you mean? How do you see that ending? So we have, well, we thought of a solution, well, we see a best fit there, and that is actually to work with one central object catalog as a single source of truth. So instead of having documents storing all the information, all the nice BIM model information, we prefer to store everything in one central storage. So that means you don't store documents, but you store objects. Objects with attributes, so it's really the geometry with attributes and metadata. So all the high quality data created in the design solutions, we store that in that central storage. So that makes it also vendor agnostic. So it doesn't really matter where it comes from because it has connectors to exchange all that design data. This means that if we can store the objects themselves and don't really care anymore about the file format being used during the design, we move away from that closed BIM and really go to an open BIM environment. That is on the design part of the design collaboration. So this is where design is being built, and this is where we see a really opportunity of making an open environment on the design part, so in the office. If we look at the site, so really the construction site, so what we've learned is that we often work with a mixed fleet there. So different types of machine control, so different vendor information systems requiring its information to be brought to the machines itself. So often the surveyor is busy working on preparing the data, the project data for that mixed fleet. So preparing different types of data for the different types of machine control. What we've also learned is that often that data is being distributed, not online or anything, or not connected, but still via a USB stick. So as you can imagine, the issue there is often that it's time consuming to prepare data for different types of equipment. And there is also the risk of working on outdated information. So, and that's a pity because there is so much high quality data being created during the design phase. And when changes are there, it's still really important that you work on updated information. And last but not least, also the as-built data. So also on the construction sites, all the equipment has been improved, sensoring is there. So there is a way to really capture what you're doing. So to really make sure that you have the as-built information there. But it's not captured and it's not fed back to the office. And that's actually a pity. So what we see as a solution there is that we give again the surveyor the opportunity to focus on actually project management, site management itself. So we want to have an agnostic solution. So that means we're not dependent on one vendor information system. We have one central site management system as a single source of truth. So again, compared a bit as on the design phase with also one central storage, we want to have one central storage as well for the site management system that meets ISO standards. And this is where we also mention that why we embrace the ISO standards and preferably also the new one, the 15143-41, to make sure that also there you can make sure that that we exchange in an open way. So we have connectors there to make sure that we exchange telematics and topographical data. So between that vendor information system and the central storage, because we want to make sure that the information is fed to the machines, but also that we capture the data from the machines themselves. What about all the information that is fed back from the machines? Think about all the telematics data that we can already capture from the site. So think of fuel consumption. CO2 exhaust, but also the fault codes, to be more proactive on your site, to make sure that instead of reactive and slowing down the construction time, that you can really be upfront of all of everything that's going to happen, and to make sure that you're proactively solving issues there. So we've seen everything from the design collaboration side. We've seen everything from the site management side. And what we see nowadays is still that the design exchange now often between office and field is done by a copy of a copy of a copy of data. So again, data management as well. So there is documents being transferred from the office to the field, often one direction. So the issue there is, was the latest approved version really received on the site? And is the site still aligned according to planning? Because on the office, they don't know, because they don't really receive real-time updated information there. So if you connect those two stories that I told about the office and the field, if we take that open object catalog from the design department, and we take that one central storage with all of the data from the site management system, and we make sure that both of them communicate in a good way, we make sure that there are identifiable versions of shared data, so high quality, seamless data flow. It's traceable. We have digital workflows and approvals to make sure that it is indeed an approved version being there and available for the construction site and as a constructible model. And we have role-based operations. So, and you might also recognize then the open file formats there, IFC and lent.xml. These are used nowadays as well to make sure that all the information is fed to the vendor information system. And of course, these open standards we can use as well to make sure that the data is transferred between the office open object catalog and of course the site management system from the construction site. So if we put all of these images together that I've just explained into one overall picture, you can see again on the left-hand side the office and the design collaboration part. On the right-hand side, the site management part. And in the middle, the last piece that I explained. So where we really see that we're on the crossing, so the intersection of office and field, where we really want to make sure that we really focus on high quality, seamless data flow between office and field. Because all the work that's been done in the office should also reflect on the field and vice versa. Because there is also a lot of useful information collected on the site that we can feed back to the design or the design collaboration part in the office. Not only telematics data, but what about optimizing costs and carbon footprint? If we have all that information in one site, in one central storage, so the one site management system, we can also focus on productivity, running hours of the machinery, idle hours, and how can we improve there? Or even the daily diary. What we've learned from contractors is that they often have a lot of challenges in administrating everything that's going on the construction site. So what if we have that one central storage everybody can connect to, but also feed information of what they're doing actually to that central storage? That makes it much more efficient on the construction site, and we really improve the fact how administration is done nowadays on site. So in one word that you can see in the middle, hopefully, yes, you can see it, it's data management. So that's where we really want to improve and make sure that we talk about data management, transferring data from the office to the field and back, and managing that data in a good way. So I really hope I could inspire you today concerning how we see actually using open standards and how we are really looking forward to having more of these, as we see ourselves as a partner, not only linked to specific brands or vendors, but really looking forward to help you to improve and optimize every day. So in case you really want to have an open discussion on that as well, you can contact me always by, I've written down my email address as well. You also have the Umbrella platform where you can connect to me, because unfortunately I'm not there to talk live. And I really hope to talk to you soon and have that discussion with you, how you feel about our offering actually for the construction site and actually the infrastructure industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Liv. Is there any questions in Umbrella?
More of these, as we see ourselves as a partner, not.
Nope. Okay. I have some question. What's the timetable for the new ISO -4 standard?
It's still under construction, so it's quite far in the phase, but the details of that I don't know, of course. But we are probably, like you, quite anxious of knowing when they are really there to make sure that we can follow up quickly on that as well. Because we are, like I said, we're really looking forward of having that standard to exchange that topographical data between office and field.
Yeah, I think the whole industry is waiting for that standard, yeah. And I can speak for myself also. Because it's a big issue at the moment with the mixed fleet, like you said. Of course, if you don't know the timetable, there is no pilot project, ongoing pilot project or something like that, or have you got any pilots already?
No pilots there because it's still under construction, so it's hard to if you read the pages, it's still under construction, so it's not really something we can work on already. But it's still, it's ongoing.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the audience?
I forgot to mention, if you want, you can always visit my colleagues on the booth, of course, of our car systems and SciTech.
Okay, thank you, Liv, and of course, like Liv said, if there's some questions, you can always contacting her. Thank you very much for a very nice presentation.
You're welcome.
And next, okay. Okay, you have 1 or 2 minutes to stand up and go down. So then it's fresh brains again. So before lunch.
Hello, François. Do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we hear you too, so it's perfect. Your slides are on. Can you put it in full screen because it's not the case for the moment?
It's not full screen. I put it in a window, but you do not see.
The sound is very, very loud.
Okay.
Maybe you can. Est-ce que tu peux diminuer le son de ton propre micro, s'il te plaît?
Alors, c'est pas très simple. Il faut que j'aille voir.
Ah, c'est mieux, c'est mieux.
C'est mieux là? Ok.
J'adore la traduction que ça donne quand je parle en français.
Ok. Moi, j'ai mis la fenêtre à l'intérieur d'une fenêtre.
Par contre, il faut que tu te mettes en mode diapo là, parce qu'on voit en tout petit.
Ok.
Ah,
là,
pardon, c'est nous.
C'est vous?
C'est bon, c'est bon.
C'est bon? Comme ça, c'est toujours bon?
No, it's yes, that's it. I think it's. François, tu partages ou pas en fait?
Oui.
Bon, alors attends, on essaye de trouver.
So while we are waiting for the next presentation, I will introduce the next speaker. The topic will be which collaborative platforms to support Open Beam. And the presenter would be Mr. François Robida, who is working as an independent consultant, but has been director of BRGM, the French Geological Survey, and he was in charge of data and digital infrastructures scientific strategy. Okay?
No, it's coming.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, François, we hear you, but we don't see your screen. Is it a screen? Okay, it's yours. So normally you can go on your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Petri, for the introduction. This is always challenging to make the last.
Sorry, François, you cut off your presentation. We have a black screen.
Here again. Is it okay?
No, we don't. We see it on the system, but we can't project it. So maybe we can have the backup. That's it. And I can change the slide if you want for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Ok. Alors, c'est la sienne?
Ok.
Donc là, c'est la tienne. Vas-y, commence.
Okay. Thank you. So this presentation is about the work which has been done in the MIND project on collaborative platforms. The last presentation was quite interesting, and what I propose now is to try to step back and make sure that we really understand what we mean about collaborative platform. What we have done in this MIND working group is to work on the collaborative platforms and collaboration of platforms. What we mean is that it's obviously important and interesting to make sure that the partners of a BIM project have the right tool to collaborate within a project. But it's also, and this is about collaborative platform, but it's also important to make sure that this collaborative platform is able to be connected to the broader environment of digital platforms, and to make sure that we are able to connect the digital twin or the data of an infrastructure to the system of a smart city, for instance. So those two different components are important. So what about collaboration? We have done some work in the history of collaboration, and but it's clear that for the BIM itself is an illustration of the need for collaboration in the construction industry. For the projects on large infrastructures, it's even more important because of the long lifespan of infrastructures, which means that the collaboration has to be organized on the long term. And it's also important to note that those infrastructures are very much connected to their environment, to the railway, to the different networks, and so on. So collaboration again is within the infrastructure and the infrastructure with the rest of the world. Very often in those situations, we have, even for a simple infrastructure, different structures or partners playing the roles of owner, builder, operator, maintainer. They all work on the same infrastructure, but with different roles. And for instance, you have also to take into account that, for example, let's take an airport. This is a single infrastructure, but at the same time, there will be different construction or maintenance projects on the same infrastructure. So in some ways, it complexifies the need and the way to collaborate between. There will be different projects, different teams in parallel on the same infrastructure. Obviously, the need for integration with the BIM, the GIS worlds, the IoT is also important. And I would say that the digital tools that are needed should enable and facilitate the collaboration, and must enable, first of all, the infrastructure owner to control the projects and the data of its infrastructure. This is a very strong point that we want to raise at the very beginning of this presentation, that the responsibility of the owner of the infrastructure is important. It owns the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure. It also owns the data of its infrastructure itself, not all the data of the project, but at least the representation of its infrastructure. And this is important to consider from the beginning. So the scope of the working group, the MIND working group, which has developed the content that I will present, was to try to identify, first of all, the meaning of a collaborative platform for different BIM users, taking into account the importance of regulation, standards, technologies. We do not build from scratch, even if you will see that we try to take some distance from the current implementations. And from that, to propose a vision of a collaborative digital environment that would be kind of target. From this target, benchmark the existing offer of solutions to see whether they are in line with the target or with some differences or difficulties. Considering that there will be newcomers in this ecosystem of solutions, we have already started but not completely finished, the work is still in progress, identify the ecosystem of future platforms and partner and ecosystem of providers as well. And from that, propose a roadmap from the current situation to this medium or long-term situation. So about collaboration, collaborative platforms, I think if you ask to different people who are in the room or online, they might have different definitions. And it's sometimes not only because of the marketing presentation, but also of the understanding of the people. It can be described, or the solution can be described from different things, from all-purpose BIM software, one black box software solving everything. It can be described by some people as digital twins. CDEs, common data environments, have also a role to play, but they are not necessarily the complete solution to collaborative platforms. Modeling tools have to be there, portals. So we will try to clarify those things taking into consideration the constraints. So what are those constraints in the building of this digital environment? First of all, again, we have to ensure digital continuity, which is not obvious for the short term on a single project for the short term. But here, which is more important and difficult, is to make sure that this continuity will be maintained and ensured for the long term. Second important constraint is that because of the diversity of actors and companies, organizations, public or private actors, it's impossible to impose the same tool, the same technical solution to all the actors. So we have to find a way to deal with the diversity of the solutions. For a single actor, it's important to make sure that he also has the possibility to avoid dependency on a single technology provider. And because tools are evolving, solutions can be provided by others. And for the long term, this dependency is definitely not a solution. Last but not least, the guarantee to respect the ownership of the data, of the different types of data which are in the context of projects is a condition of the participation and collaboration. If this rule of ownership is not respected, the whole system will definitely be not functional. So the framework which has to be developed has to be developed on standards. All the constraints which that I have described define a context of interoperability. There will not be anything for the long term in an open solution without interoperability, and this is definitely about InfraBIM. What we try, therefore, is to identify not the black box system doing everything, but different components, different tools in a modular system. And to do that, a better understanding on the different roles of the actors, different needs and responsibilities is really a requirement. What we have proposed and what we propose to you today is a digital infrastructure where there is a node, which is in the middle of this slide, which is a virtual node where all the connections will be operated through standard services, standard APIs. And we propose, in the first analysis, three major types of components. The first type is what we call intelligent storage spaces, where the different types of data will be stored. And we say spaces and not space because we anticipate that there will be different spaces according to different actors that will have the responsibility to store their own data in a space. We do not mean that it cannot be on the same physical infrastructure or the same logical infrastructure, but they have to be managed independently. And the second big component is what we call the collaborative platforms that will facilitate, that will enable the collaboration between the different players in a way which is very much related to a specific project. A collaborative platform is for a project. And the third component, the third is kind of toolbox, typically software, modeling software, software which are provided by engineering companies, for instance, providing some specific calculation. And they are the ownership of this kind of tool. The tools can access to the data from the storage spaces, and this connection can be done in a project through a collaborative platform. So the definition, a more precise definition of those two components is like this. And we say that the storage spaces have to ensure the maintenance and the security of the reference data, and there will be no duplication. We try at most to avoid duplication of data. We know that it's not always possible, definitely it's from the time being, but the target should be that one, not to replicate and to have a single location for the data. And all the data will have to be accessed via standardized services, as in the previous presentation by Arcos, stored somewhere as objects. Of course, CDE and the ISO 19650 should have to be managed properly as defined in the BIM context. We say that those storage have to be set up, managed, maintained by each of the data owners through the life of the infrastructure, or for data specific to a project, at least through the life of the project and until the end of the responsibility of the different partners of the project. The second component, the collaborative platforms, again, are tools to facilitate the collaboration, to give access to the proper data to the different partners, not all the data, but the data which is needed by every partner, to allow them, to enable them to make the optimal decisions on the project, and allowing the access right to any type of data which is transferred. This is the place where the different partners of the project will find the point of truth of the project. These collaborative platforms are set up by the entity responsible for the project, with a lifespan limited normally to the project. And the last component is about the collaborative tools, the applicative tools. And those tools can have a cycle which is very different from one-to-one. They are managed and made available to the collaborative platform by the different owners and providers of the tools. So as you see, we are trying to define an ecosystem of components, because we believe that the ecosystem of players is quite diverse, and the ecosystem of projects on the lifetime of an infrastructure is also quite diverse. So the diversity is in the lifespan, very long for data spaces of an airport. The data for this airport have to be maintained for the long term. The collaborative platform, again, are related to the project. And the management of those different components is different. The responsibility can be different. And each of them have to make sure that they keep the responsibility, or the responsibility is transferred to them if needed. All this architecture is set up to maximize the openness of the system. For example, to enable the owner of a big infrastructure to operate different collaborative platforms because they are managed by different projects. There is no constraint to have the same platform. The main constraint is to have a single way to manage the data by the owner of the infrastructure, and maximize the openness of the system to facilitate also the connection with other systems, with, again, the smart cities, or the connection with external infrastructures can be done, because this is not a black box system. And subject to compliance with standards, all those components are connected through standards. These tools must be able to be chosen independently from different solution providers and evolve autonomously. So just a few words about the benchmark. The plan of the benchmark that we have started is not to identify the best solution, which not necessarily exists in general, but to compare the situation of the solutions with this targeted architecture. And the good news is that you see some grid points on this slide, many of the infrastructure that we have already evaluated have some good green lights. We also have some orange lights and some red lights, which means that some tools definitely are not evolving or in line with what we are looking for. But the good thing is that many of them are working in this direction. So the next steps for us, and hopefully with you, because our group and mine is very open to discussion on this topic. The next steps are to complete the benchmark. We are working on that. We have had meetings since the beginning of this year, and we will continue. We will do a POC, a proof of concept, with some solution providers to validate this architecture in the context of the evolution of standards, which is very critical. It's not an easy thing because this is an evolving context. And we also will work and better understand the new market landscape, taking into account new pure open beam players, new players which will develop their offer completely based on standards, and obviously with the impact of the European or international initiative on clouds. Finally, we will work on this roadmap, trying to see on the different challenges, regulations, standards, technology, environmental impact. We will try to see where we are, where we would like to be, and the road to be taken for that. To conclude, I would emphasize that what we have developed and proposed to you is a middle to long-term vision for the open beam, fully open beam implementation, to enable the different stakeholders, and in particular the owners of infrastructures, to urbanize their information systems in the best way for the long term. And this is something which is definitely not easy for them, but we try to give them some ideas or options that might be relevant for them. And because it has been discussed before in this conference, we also are convinced that what we propose is fully in line with the European strategy, with the Gaia X initiative, which proposed a multi-sectorial platform to help the different domains, like the infrastructure domain or building domain, to have implementation of their own solutions, and DG Place, which is the example of a specific sector platform for us. Here we try to better identify the ecosystem and the requirements of the different users of such platforms. So thank you again for your attention, and on behalf of the working group and my colleagues, again, we are very open to discussion today or later on those topics. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Francois. Any questions from Brella's side?
No, there is no question for the moment, but there is a delay in the presentation. I mean, the presentation is following by 12 people outside who are online, and the presentation is just finished now. So suspense. Is there any question, Umbrella, or not? Please, if you are connected. No, it was my last tentative. No question.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, do you have any question, Claude, about the project?
No, it was very clear, Francois, and I know you work, so I have no questions. Maybe just to say it's a huge work to do with the community. and you talk about lots of things. Maybe if you can precise what is the thing to do in the year to come with all these subjects.
Yes, thank you, Claude. Yes, you're right. And I think that within the MIND project, this is something, the need for this working group didn't appear at the beginning of the project. It came in the second phase of the project, because we know that there are a lot of things to develop to make sure that the IFC 4.3 is online, that the technical things are solved. But we also understood that to make sure that the collaboration and the efficient long-term implementation of BIM would be really in place, some constraints, some consideration should have to be taken. And this is what we tried to make sure that the solution is not only driven by the evolution of the solution providers, but also defined by the requirements of the users of the domain. And this is the very beginning of this work. It has been done by a small group, discussed within MIND, but obviously the discussion has to be extended. And in this year 2022, the POC I was mentioning, the proof of concept, will be developed with external partners to try to develop the interoperability based on those three components on very simple things. The idea is not to replicate the big solution that we have on the market, but to see how to better identify the different components and mix the components from different providers. So again, collaboration within MIND, but outside MIND, is very much welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Francois. Okay, so heading to the next presentation. The last presentation would be a live presentation. Would be use of OpenBIM platform in entire life cycle of infra project in mining industry in Finland. And we have two presenters, Mr. Manu Marttinen, who is a development manager at InfraKit. And Manu has over 20 years experience in a different tasks in infra construction field, and but he has also been very active in the standardization in the Building Smart Finland infra room, past 10 years at least, maybe 15 years. And then Mr. Sami Ylitervo, who is the Director of Operations in Nord Survey. He has a very strong background of surveying tasks in infra sector and also mining industry. So please welcome.
Is this okay? Do it like this. Hopefully. Testing.
Excusez-moi, mais je suis dans une vidéoconférence, donc si vous voulez faire vite, c'est idéal. Oui. Oui. Oui.
So welcome all. At least I'm hungry because typically in Finland, because we are working inside, so we go to eat like 11 o'clock, and now we are here in France, so it's a little bit late to have dinner for our perspective. So let's have this last presentation and then enjoy the good lunch that we are having there soon. Like Petteri told, our presentation is related to infra project in mining industry. And I think because I have been in all of these InfraBIM Opens events so far, so we have had lots of cases here that we have walked through, but I think that this is the first time ever that we are talking about mining environment. But if you are building something else than mining environment, airports, roads, harbors, whatever you name it, so this can be easily scale what we are now telling to your project and your working places. So I'm Manu Marttinen. I'm coming from a company called InfraKit, and with me here is...
I'm Sami Ylitervo, CEO of Nord Survey. And let's start with introducing ourselves. So please, Manu.
Yes, I will go further. So like Petteri mentioned, I have been working in infra construction business in Finland at least 20 years in different tasks in contractor. So I'm the guy who is like having the rubber boots and standing on the where we are getting the excavations. So I know that side very well, and I have been as well worked beginning of when we started InfraFin project in 2010-ish. So I have been working with BIM-related issues. Because Sami is a surveyor, so I have been also doing some surveying stuff in 19s when we were building harbor in Kotka, my hometown. I was working in Lemminkäinen, called company doesn't exist anymore, so I was doing some surveying stuff in that time as well. But please, Sami.
My background goes to childhood as well, because when I was a child, we had family business that offered survey services for construction. And since 2014, I've done survey and BIM manager tasks of the company. And in 2021, we did some rebranding. I started as an entrepreneur. And we are located in Rovaniemi, Finland, 6 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. And also we have an office in Helsinki, Finland. And our intention is to find best tools and solutions for our clients to fulfill their BIM quality and documentational needs to make great projects. So let's go to the topic.
I can share with you that because I work in InfraKit services, and our mission is as well to help our customer to support that they will achieve their goals in their project. So we are basically doing the similar things from different aspects. And I was as well working when my father was working in 80s as an engineer in my hometown. So that is where I started as well. When I was a kid, I started to be in infra construction field as well. So the content of our presentation, we have been put it in 3 different parts. So first we're going to walk through mine as a working environment, because we are now in specific working environment. First time ever, like I mentioned. We walk through the scale and the stakeholders. And after that, we're going to walk through the life cycle of mine and all needed information related to the life cycle. We walk through these very familiar phases like feasibility study and preliminary design phase, final design phase, construction phase, and finally we come to the operation and maintenance phase. Very, very familiar phases, I think, to all of us. And then we, in the end, we make the summary of our presentation. Okay, let's consider mine as a working environment. And like I told in the beginning, you can easily scale this to your road environment or airport environment or highway environment or whatever you name it. Because now we are building infra to mining environment, and it is very, very sure that what we are doing there, we are building roads, we are building bonds, we are building, for example, dams. So all these things are like related to typical infra construction field. And what is special here is that the owner who will own and run the mine, so he is basically building that to him or herself. So that is something that varies if you compare it like a typical highway cases. And so if you look about these stakeholders, so the customer, the infra owner is in really strong position. And also, which is really wrong position here in mining industry is the authority, because if you compare it to highway construction, so the authority is, for least my opinion, is more strict because there are some laws and rules and regulations which you maybe have to follow more carefully than doing the highways. Other these stakeholders, designer, construction company, measurement company, like Sami here, independent quality control company, maintenance company, and monitor devices supplier. These are these stakeholders which are all connected to this environment. So, let's go to the life cycle and related information to the life cycle. There's a timeline, as you can see, which started from feasibility study and goes through the final design, construction phases, and end up till the last phases, which is operation and maintenance. Typically, you will draw this as a circle, but I have put it here in our presentation as a timeline. And if you consider about the information related to that timeline, so information flow goes same direction always than in a construction and different phases are going. But the demand of information goes, of course, opposite way. And very important question that you can always ask from yourself is, de kelles information je peshaan? Sorry about my French, maybe it's not so perfect, so I will put it in Finnish as well. Mitä tietoa minä tarvitsen? And in English, it's what information do I need? That's very important question that you can always ask when you are in this timeline. Because this timeline continues and continues all the time. When you have produced different information in different phases, that information will be base information when you are started to build again after you have maintained and used your mining environment. And because it's very important here when the owner is building the mine environment to him or herself. So basically, the use and the operational issues are that phase that determines the need of information that we are producing through whole timeline. So basically, we are setting up the needs. In operational phase, we have to know what information we need there. And then we are guiding all the different phases that design and construction phases, for example, can produce that information to us. We put it here like an umbrella, and we put there like an asset management as a word, because the asset management is basically the thing that guides us. It's all about asset management in this kind of environment where the owner is strong player building something to him or herself. And highly related to this asset management and the whole life cycle is this open BIM platform, which is our topic in our presentation. And we have put the OpenBIM platform there as a granite background because when we do mining in Finland, so the rock it's granite. So that's why the selection of the colors there. And the OpenBIM platform in our use cases that we are soon representing to you guys has been InfraKit. And like the previous presentation was telling about those different kind of platforms. So this is like a collaboration platform. Is collaboration platform as well, if I refer the previous presentation. So now we're going to walk through these different phases. And first phase is feasibility study. And in a feasibility study, it's important that we are going to start to collect the data, that no data will lost. And that's the first step. And please, Sami, it's your turn now, right? Tell us something about it.
So the most important thing is to have rules for data management. And in this sample, it's organized by having a clear file folders tree, which is the core of the project. So all the data project produces is stored to these folders. And then usable data in this phase could be orthophoto. So when we are adding orthophoto, it's the base map for the project. Also, we can have terrestrial information like contours there. That kind of data is very important to handle from the very beginning. Yeah, so all the data we are handling, we must keep it in one place. So then it's easy to make decisions based on real data.
That's correct. That's correct. So let's move through to the next phase, which is the final design phase. And in final design phase, when we are collecting all the information from different designs to the same platform, so then it's very important that we are using some, for example, some combination modeling tools that we can show that the design has been made correctly, and we can have data to be used later on in construction phase. So please, Sami, give us some examples.
Yeah, so when we have great initial data, we are allowed to make great design. So here we can see 2D plans and also 3D BIM models. Here is, I think there is coming excavation model of tailing storage area. And also the other model is dam rockfill model. Also, we need, of course, documents. So we can add all design data and documents to the platform. And also we can geolocate every file also. And this is a very great tool, combination model that allows us to roll out our designs in 3D mode, combined with aerial photo, and also with all the data that we have added to the platform. So these functionalities gives possibility for everyone to detect what's the situation with designing on the site.
Very good, very good. Now we have collected all the initial data and we have all the design data in same collaboration platform, same open BIM platform that everybody who's are involved in the project, those stakeholders we mentioned, so they can use the same data. So that's very, very important. And when we walk to the construction phase, so then it's important that we have all the models that we are using in our, for example, excavators, all the design that the construction workers are using on the field. So we have all the information in the same platform. And also when we are doing some documentation from the site, so we can do that as a real time. That is important to all infra project, but especially in this kind of project where you have your external measurement guys, where you have your external authorities, where you have the external quality control, and everybody works at the same collaboration platform. So that is very important. And for example, because we have talking about lots of CO2 issues here in this event, so I would really hope that in these collaboration platforms, we could see in future like some CO2 consumption and so on. So that would be very, very precious information to us. And that's the reason that why we are, for example, developing those issues to our platform. Please, Sami, give us some example of real life.
So we can use basically our design models as construction models. So, and after that, we can link our working machines and survey equipment to the platform. And that's the point when we are starting to share data both ways. So here you can see the tailings storage area. And when the construction progress is going on, we are getting as-built data from machines and surveyors. And these tools allows everyone to see what's the situation with as-built and can we continue to the next phases. Also, we are able to provide very good drone maps. So it's easy to take a real-time view that what's the next steps on our project. Also, 360 photos from air are very usable in this kind of projects, because you can see, for example, in weekly meetings or that kind of stuff, you can roll out the image and have the conversation at the same time. So that's a huge benefit for everyone.
That's correct, and I like that way of working there because all the as-built point has been there real time, and like you said, so then there can be a discussion about that, can we continue or not? So then it's a very good cooperation between different stakeholders in same infra project with Open BIM platform. And related to these 360 photos, so it's similar when you're building the highway. You get a large area, and it's good to have pictures from air, so you can have a perspective that what you are doing, and you can have good situation awareness to all stakeholders. Nice. And when we are going to the final phase, the operation and maintenance phase, so now we are collected from the infra construction project. We have collected all the needed data, and now we can use it when we are doing the operation. We can use the same platform, or we can put the data to some storages, depending on what's the system of the owner. But now in this case, we are using the same platform during the whole life cycle. And the important question here, sorry about my bad French pronunciation, if somebody could help me, what information do I need? So if there is some brave enough guys or girls who could say it, so I would really be glad. But if not, so then you just have to know, live with my pronunciation. The Gellets information, Kepes 1. So that is the base question. But please, Sami, let's go to this final phase and real example.
Yes. All the data we have produced during construction and from the very beginning is now going to maintenance phase. So, for example, there is made some topography by drone after a construction phase. So that data is available there for next design or anything. Also, any mappings like cable lines or piping lines are stored to platform, so there is no risk of missing some data in the future. Also, there are even maintenance routes marked on the map, so when it starts to snow, everyone knows what road is priority 1 and must be fixed first. Also, adding documents in this phase is also important. For example, dam safety documents or site inspections documents are catered to the platform, and that's the whole idea of the life cycle.
Yeah, very good case example from real life of all these phases that we walk through. So as a summary, we walk through the whole life cycle of the mining environment, and we hope that you get good overview about that, how the life cycle is, who are the stakeholders there, how you can use open BIM platform in this kind of environment, and maybe you will get some good ideas how to copy these kind of ideologies to your environment where you are working. So you can find us during the lunchtime, maybe Sami as well at the InfraKit stand. I would hope so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manu and Sami. Yeah, it was I cannot say funny presentation, but yeah, it was quite a. No, I don't say. Yeah, good presentation. Is there any question in Prela before I start? No, any questions in the audience? Okay. How is the? You have a demand for information from the owner. How does it work? Honestly.
Maybe Sami is the best one to answer this question, because you are producing the information in these exact cases.
So I think that they are getting enough information and maybe more what they need, because I think this kind of private owned mines or something, there is none of these kind of tools being used before. So I don't know. I think the workflow is going well and they are getting enough information.
Yeah, one thing, what is, if I go to the general level and overall talking about that, when you are making some information, putting it to the open BIM platform, so it is important that you do that in real time. So then the owner who needs the information can real time see that, hey, information is produced. Because the old way of working has been that you are like throwing everything, like in last night you are doing here. Please take it. But when you are doing it in real time, so then owner knows what is happening in the infra.
And it's also that when we have rules for that data management, then it's organized and it's working.
But it's like if you go from the traditional way of working, and you have a huge amount of papers and mapping, and you go with the open BIM platform, so you are not using papers anymore, you have models, you have point clouds, you have a nice visualization and a huge amount of data. How you are acting with it in the procurement process, because it's like the owner maybe doesn't know what he needs because he's going to the new digital way. So is it just like that the owner gets more hungry all the time and need more and more and more?
I think that that's a good question because so far what we have been doing in Finland in this kind of development project, like from InfraFin being 2010 and after that, so we have producing information that we don't know exactly why we are producing it. But nowadays I think that we are getting more clever on that, that we know and the infra owners know what kind of information they do need and what they will do it during the operation and maintenance phase. So that is the that is a good question, that what information do I need as an infra owner during the operation and maintenance and in my next infra construction project, what I'm going to do in the same area. So I have to know the answer of those questions. So then I know.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because it's like, of course, if you don't know what is the data in digital way, so and also all the new what kind of data can I use from drones, so for example, so those are the new technology, new innovations anyway for the most of the infra owners.
One good way of working that I have noticed when you are having the very good situation awareness picture during Open BIM platform is that when you got these drone pictures and so on, because now especially in COVID time we have had those meetings like not live meetings in the site, but we have had those via Teams or other tools. So then we don't do any more these site visitings monthly during the construction project. So it's easy to look about how the things are at the site when you get the good drone pictures and so on. So the situation awareness is something that from this answer everybody should remember.
Okay, you can sit on your home couch and just check it from your mobile phone. What's happening on the construction site?
Maybe in future even more and more.
One more question about data exchange. What kind of formats are you supporting? The Open BIM formats. What kind of formats are you supporting that for the models and the point data? Because you were showing quite much data on your platform.
Do you, Sami, want to answer this in like a not InfraKit perspective? I can answer InfraKit perspective.
In this case, we had surface models in XML format, and also we had design maps in CAD formats. Point files were in XML or other point file formats. And then auto photos, okay, it's images, and what else were there? Point clouds is also used, but it was not on the presentation. But IFCs were not in this presentation, but I think that platform is able to handle that kind of data also in some point.
Yeah, the whole idea of the Open BIM platform, like we are now talking about Open BIM platform, and we are Infra BIM Open event right now. So the whole idea is that we can deal with different kind of formats, any kind of formats, and we have like a open APIs from different systems to the platform. So the information flows during the whole life cycle in one platform or in different platforms. So that's the whole idea of Infra BIM Open, like the event name is.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions? Everybody is hungry, like Manu is. I can see it from his.
Yeah, typically now it's in Finland. It's like whoa, it's over 2 o'clock afternoon. So.
Okay, thank you, Manu and Sami. And next is going to be lunch and then the closing session. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.